raise hand, which is like a smiley emoji in the hand like that, or just put a question into the box and me and Nigel can answer it. As well, we are recording the session as well, so please feel free to ask any questions, or we're doing a little bit of a Q&A at the end, aren't we, Nigel?
We are, yeah.
So we're going to go on to the next slide. Just about us, really, Notts County Foundation. We're a standalone charity in Nottingham. We've been running for 30 years now. We try and use the power of sport through anything of changing lives. We run sort of health sessions. We do education, sports and inclusion, sports participants. Any more that you could think of, Nigel?
No, we've got quite a comprehensive package of different programs to support people in the community, haven't we? So we've got things like we've got a facility for people who've been excluded, young people who've been excluded from school. But today we're from the mental health team. So Claire and myself do a lot of mental health work through the foundation, and it's that we want to share a little bit with you before we talk about the subject tonight. So we'll tell you a little bit about what we do. I think that's on our next slide, isn't it?
Goes on nicely.
So here we are. There's pictures of us again at the ground.
On a nice sunny day, not like today.
Yeah, it's not been like today, has it? So we've got a few projects here. We just tell you a little bit about. The first two, our Right Mind project and our On the Ball project, run on a Wednesday, so we're looking forward to doing those this week. And we've got good news that we can next week we'll be able to meet our participants and bring them indoors. Our projects have been running, but they've been running either virtually or as outdoor projects. But our On the Ball project is a project which engages men through football. So a lot of people come to us to play football, but the emphasis really is on promoting health and well-being and engaging people in the sport. And within that, we also do some workshops as well. Claire, do you want to say something about Right Mind?
Yeah, that's fine. So Right Mind, obviously the partnership of On the Ball, but for our women, it is multi-sports or sort of gym exercise we do. It's not really a football project. And the ladies meet and they decide what sport they would like to do each week. At the minute, we're doing lots of walk and talk sessions, which is going really well. And then the ladies we've been doing lots of virtual stuff online over lockdowns. And then we do workshops as well, very similar to the On the Ball project, but it's not football. And then on to the next one's nice. So our other few projects we have is our Goals for Life project, which is sort of 11 to 18-year-olds around sort of well-being, physical activity, and trying to help empowering young people, whether that is through building positive relationships or building self-esteem.
Yeah, I think that's the two key areas, isn't it? And I think that's a common thing amongst all of what we're going to be talking about tonight, is the benefits to people's mental health and what that might mean in terms of building people's self-confidence, enabling people to participate, improving self-esteem, and people having a more positive view about themselves and what they can achieve. Our Right Mind project is an interesting project because, like Claire says, it brings together young people between the ages of 11 and 18 years old. And as we've got on there, it has won an award from Mind, hasn't it? Similarly, our On the Ball project is an award-winning project as well. And again, the theme amongst this is engaging people through sport, and sport being good for both people's physical and mental health. And as coaches, that's the issue that we want to kind of explore with you a little bit more today.
It's great. For me personally, obviously, I'm more from sporting background and started off coaching probably football 15 years ago. And then over this sort of the last probably 8 years, I've done more specifically mental health. Nice. Do you want to say a bit about your background as well?
Yeah, my background's in mental health, so I'm not a coach by any means at all. So I started my career as a mental health nurse and practiced as a charge nurse and as a community psychiatric nurse, mainly with people with drug and alcohol problems, before moving into university and having an academic career there as well. So I left the University of Nottingham about 5 years ago, where I was an associate professor in mental health. And for the last 5 years, I've been working with Notts County, supporting and developing their mental health projects. And it's that experience between Claire and myself that seems to work well. So that's the experience we'd like to share with you today.
Should we move on to the next slide, Nige?
Yeah, let's do that.
So our aims today, obviously from when Sarah's putting out all the feelers, is how to engage positive mental health in our players, how to engage players who are experiencing poor mental health, barriers and players may face returning back to football. I think that's probably a huge one with everything that's been happening this last year in and out of lockdowns as well, and ideas and tips to help overcome them barriers. Before every workshop will get started, we always do a warm-up, don't we, Nige? Now, don't worry, you're getting up out your chairs. It's basically a warm-up where it gets you thinking and getting the brain thinking. So tonight, I've done like an emoji one where you have to guess the footballer. So if you can use the chat function to see which footballer you think it is. Nige, I gave you this one the other day, didn't I, to see how you'd go.
I think these are hard. Yeah, I had to have a practice at these before we came online. So yeah, so we'll see how well you do.
So you can ask clues as well. So the first footballer. Some of the faces are confused.
Yeah, just if you get any ideas, just drop it into the chat.
Try and break it down as well. So don't just go to try like batch.
You nearly said it.
Is this meant to be one of the easy ones, Claire? It's not my strong point.
Well,
he was a Chelsea player.
Oh, sorry. What's the first picture?
Bat.
Then the next one.
Shoe.
And next.
I.
Put it together.
Sorry, this is not my forte. I know I work in football, but this is not my forte.
I think it's Batshuayi, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that a player?
Yes.
Player, yeah. That's the thing, isn't it?
I took one for the team there. Someone else's turn next, surely.
Some of the others are a bit more well known, I think.
Yeah.
Go on, Ant, what's your guess?
What's your guess, Ant?
Nigel Platt. The first one. That was a Chelsea player.
Batshuayi, yeah.
Right. So this one is try and look at not the foot, but look what's on the end of the foot, knee, and then what is that? It's not a ship.
It's a certain type of ship, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah.
What?
What sort of ship might you holiday on?
Someone's typing.
We got one through.
Tony Cruz, well done. Yes, one of all night. Next one.
We got the idea now.
Spanish player. I think he's played for Barcelona, or maybe still playing for Barcelona. I get this one from looking at the flag and the man at the end. I hope you did answer it.
Anton Griezmann.
Well done.
Well done, Matt.
Yeah.
Fair play.
We're on a roll now. We're starting to warm up brains after a long day at work.
I thought that was really
Next
hard.
one. A good holding midfielder for Chelsea, another Chelsea player.
Another Chelsea player.
He's won the Premier League, but not with Chelsea.
Oh.
And the World Cup, actually.
In a few minutes, we can always give you another clue then.
I thought it was on a roll then.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Captain, well done. We're on a roll. Okay, got Kante, next one. This is from my team that I support, Man United.
Anthony, you should get this then.
Yeah. Oh, do you want to roll?
Yeah.
He's on a roll. I love that.
The hard one. This guy was he was a Derby manager. It's not Wayne Rooney. He was the Derby manager, Chelsea manager, and he had a good footballing career. Yes,
Well played, Anne. Well played.
Frank Lampard, welcome. So, please know, guys, that is the warm-up done. So we'll move on.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're asking the question now, so just using the chat box again, or if you feel comfortable to put onto the microphone, that is fine. What would you say is, what is mental health?
I think it's a difficult thing to define sometimes, isn't it? So you might want to kind of think about what things point to good mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good reply. We've just got up centered around feelings and responses.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you for that. How we think, feel and behave. I think that's a brilliant one, isn't it? Because I think our feelings, our thinking and our behaviour are all linked together. And that can be really important when we start to think about how we know whether somebody's well or not.
Feelings.
Yeah.
Our mood.
Our mood. Yeah, thank you, Anthony.
Thank you. Yeah, having resilience as well.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one, isn't it? Being resilient, being able to cope with ups and downs.
Yeah, having that bounce back.
And it might well be that, you know, one of the things about mental health is someone with good mental health can cope with those setbacks.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody who hasn't got good mental health might find that more difficult.
Should we go to the next one now? So
Yeah,
we sort of talk about mental health. Is there any sort of relationship between our physical health as well as our mental health?
What do people think? Is there a relationship? Do we think of, when we think of health, do we think of both physical and mental health, or are the two really separate and distinct?
They are meant to be together, but they're not always together.
Yeah, so they're meant to be together, but they're not always. I think it depends, doesn't it? I think sometimes your physical health or how you feel can really have a benefit on your mental health, or sometimes it might not. I think it depends. It differs from person to person.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it works the other way around as well, doesn't it? That people who've got poor physical health can have poor mental health as well, and people who've got poor mental health can affect their physical well-being. So, you know, people who are depressed or are low might not eat, for instance. People who are anxious might overeat. You know, it can, that they're not exclusive, but those, you know, that link is there. And as the World Health Organization say, that, you know, there's no health without mental health. It's an integral part of who we are and the way that we function. And that's really important because, you know, the projects that we're talking about and the activities that you do as coaches are really geared not just to improving people's physical well-being, but their overall health. And we looked up what it is. What do people say mental health is? And again, the World Health Organization say it's a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or his own abilities, can cope with normal stresses of life, which we've got there as resilience, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to their community. So again, what it's focusing on is what people who are mentally well are able to do. So it might be around making a contribution, it might be about going to work, it might be around making relationships with people and maintaining those relationships, and all those things make us to be the person we are and to be fully functioning. But that issue of resilience, I think, is a real key one, because we know there's setbacks in life and we know that people have difficult times, and they need to bounce back. Sometimes people can't. Some of the people that we work with come to us at a time of struggle, and our work there is really about supporting them back into their own well-being. So what's mental health? It's a difficult one. Sometimes it's easier to determine what's mental illness because you can say people can't do certain things. Traditionally, mental health's been quite difficult to define. Shall we move it on, Claire, to the next one?
Let's move on to the next one. I'm just going to say hello to Hugo that's just joined us.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. That kind of relationship that we were talking about between physical and mental health is illustrated by some of these statistics we've got here. You know, and some of these are quite frightening, really, that people with long-standing mental health problems are twice as likely to die from heart disease than people who don't have mental health problems. They're likely to die between 15 and 20 years earlier than the general population, and 3 times as likely to die from respiratory disease than the general population. So, you know, mental health is a serious issue, and it's good that we're thinking about this in Mental Health Awareness Week, and thinking about what we as individuals and as coaches can do to promote that sense of well-being. And that link to physical and mental health is really important, and that gives us good reason to think about why, as football coaches, we can promote people's mental health. Okay.
Move on to the next bit, Nigel.
Yeah, let's move on to the next one, because I think.
So we think about sort of the impact of getting active. Okay, so I know probably this last year we've all tried to, in our different goals or walking steps or lots of running or different exercises. Is what do you think the benefits of exercise to mental health is? So just put in the chat box what you think of yourself, think of your players that you might work with. Is what are the benefits of exercise to our mental health? Everyone's going to have different answers as well.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, I am all the time.
Yeah, so definitely keeping your mind active all the time. So that's a big one.
It is a big one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got a sense of purpose, goal to work towards, help with motivation, helps to boost your mood.
Yeah, we've got some really good answers here, haven't we? Because yeah, that kind of goal to walking towards something is really important. Being able to achieve something makes us feel better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That sense of improvement on where you started from. Releases those feel-good hormones. Yeah, good good workout doesn't it?
Yeah. I like the bottom one, fresh air and focusing on surroundings. So especially with Mental Health Awareness Week, it's sort of the nature and trying to notice it, because it's proven this last year, that's helped to improve our own mental health and our well-being. Yeah,
there's a lot of research that actually says being outside helps, doesn't it? And being connected to nature does help. And so, yeah, I think that's a really good one. I think the other thing is just getting out and being with people. Yeah. Yeah. That's little socialising. Yeah, and I think that's something that we don't always think about. When we think about the benefits of exercise, we often think about what it's like, you know, to be lifting weights or walking or something like that. But we don't necessarily think of the context. And that might be where football really plays its part. So you guys who might be coaching with teams or coaching groups of people, the fact that the people come together, that they have that sense of belonging, that sharing together, is possibly as important to them as actually the physical exercise that you're doing. So it's that context I think we've got to be really aware of. Definitely. So these are the ones that we've come up with. I know there's probably quite a few as they're coming up. Yeah. There's some probably not realise that it helps to
improves our sleep, help with our mood and reduce that risk of sort of low mood. Risk of dementia, increased physical well-being, the reduction in racing thoughts. I think even just if you had a really stressful day, sometimes you just want to go home and probably not even bother about the exercise, but that will help reduce the stress, helps to get all that emotion out, doesn't it, Nige, as well?
Yeah, I think there's some really good things here. That kind of positive impact on your mood. You do feel better, don't you, when you've done some exercise? Feel more calmer, being able to sleep better, feeling more alert. But some of those other key ones, particularly at the moment, because we know that a lot of people are stressed at the moment, and even as we open up, I think people are still feeling anxious about it. And I know certainly from the groups that we work with, Claire, you know, our ladies group in particular are telling us that they're not quite ready to come inside, even though we've been able to do that for a while, because we've got, you know, because we work with a special group of people, really. So we've been able to move inside, but we haven't done because people don't feel quite ready to do that. And we know that anxiety is between anxiety and depression, they're the two main causes of mental health problems at the moment. The most popular ones, most common ones, not popular really, are they? But the most common forms of mental health issues are around anxiety and mood and depression. So having activities that reduce stress is really important at this moment in time.
No, definitely. I think even just if we're going back to sort of football or going back to our training, I know sort of adults or sort of children that are going back, probably before they're going back to the first session after so long off, there's that anxious, the build up of it. But then probably when they left, they felt absolutely amazing and felt probably better having months. Would you agree with that, Nige?
I think so. I think people actually worry about coming along, don't they, for the first time, and they're not sure how COVID secure they'll feel. You know, whether there's going to be lots of people in one place at one time. So there's a lot of anxiety that builds up around that, and I think it is about kind of helping people to build their confidence and feel safe, isn't it? So yeah. Good.
Should we go with the next slide about football and mental health? So if we think about football mental health, we've said about the importance of the exercise, but why we as coaches, and why is that? What do we get from that helps with our mental health? So again, just put in the chat box. So what will it help with? Or just think of yourself. I know for me personally, like even just the social interaction for me could be one of them through my football team.
Yeah. We won't think about watching Notts County.
No. That has its stresses in it.
That's been stressful this season, yeah. But why football and mental health? What's the advantages of football to mental health? Yeah.
It gets me out, meet people.
Yeah, so coaching for Anthony, it helps him it gets him out the house, it helps him meet people. So it's like that social element.
I think that's a really good one, Anthony. Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people. Yeah. Really.
Say that again, sorry, mate. Keeps your brain stimulated, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we've got some good ones coming in as well. You know, it's a common thing to focus on. There's that sense of sharing, isn't there? That we're all there, the same thing. That it brings us together, it unites us together, and that's certainly something that comes across with our players on the ball, isn't it? They come from very different walks of life, but the fact that they're all there to play football together means they've got a common language and a common interest, and it already creates that kind of sense of belonging together.
We've got a few, obviously, more people chatting, which is great. It's the team benefit and the social element. I know from our groups now, that's what they really love, but then they don't realise that it's going to be helping with their sort of social skills or the interpersonal skills. But then that sense of building self-esteem, self-confidence, when they probably first get to the session, they're not feeling great, but then leaving it because they've had them connections with other people. I think also they have that fear, so it reduces that stigma at the end because they realise that no one's going to be treating them any different about who they are as that person.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think, you know, certainly those social benefits and that team game and that reduction of isolation are really important things to what we're doing. I think some of the other things, like you know, a lot of the guys get a lot from the drills, don't they? Just doing the football drills and playing together helps to build, you know, the relationships with each other and improves their skills. And a lot of our players come because they want to improve their skills as well as improve their mental health and well-being.
No, definitely.
Yeah, but I think we've also got in there that, and this is something I think with young people we often recognise, that, you know, through playing football you can learn life skills.
Yeah.
But certainly with some of the people that we have as adults, that's also true, isn't it? You know, some of the people that we work with do find it difficult to build relationships with other people, or to manage their stress, or to resolve conflicts, for instance, or to work as part of a team, because it's something that they've never had the opportunity to do in the past sometimes. And yet when you put them onto a football pitch, that's what they're doing. And that's what they're practicing. And so when we talk about the workshops that we run, they're often around those sorts of themes, and it often relates directly to the games that they play. And so the game becomes an opportunity for them to practice some of those skills as well. And I guess that's true with some of you coaches who might work with young people.
Just got another one coming. So we spend so much time at home that it seems we forget some good feelings, and football gives that back.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it? Just that kind of celebration is what it's like to score a goal.
Yeah. Well, it's like, even if you're in goal or you're a goalkeeper,
Yeah.
but you do a great save, and it's like, yes,
Yeah.
that's a massive achievement. That it's that good feeling that you've done something really good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I think the other thing about this is that football can help reduce stigma, can help reduce the stigma associated with mental health, because it's a common language which we all share in. And similarly, you know, football can be a real challenge to discrimination. And I know that's a big issue that's going on at the moment, but it's something that's just worth recognising here, because not only do people get discriminated on sense of their colour or ethnic background or whatever, but mental health is a major form of discrimination as well. So yeah.
Should we go on about sort of the spotting the signs now next,
Go
Nige?
on then. Yeah, let's do that.
So spotting when things aren't quite right. So if, for example, your sessions or your clubs or your players, how would you know what if something's not going right in that child or children? What would they show, or signs that you might know that child?
Yeah.
But again, every club's different. Like every child's different, or adult's different. It's just, I guess, them personal relationships. You know, then, Nige, won't you?
Yeah, that's right. Changing personality. Great.
Definitely.
Yeah. So somebody's just not their usual self.
Yeah, becoming withdrawn and not wanting to come along to training.
Yeah.
Overly aggressive. I think that is that behaviour change.
Yeah.
Or even just where, you know, they're quite a relaxed player, but then all of a sudden a bad tackle happens, or something else happens, and they act out of character.
Yeah. Yeah. They might explode. Yeah. Not wanting to come along is a good one, isn't it? Or sitting back and sitting out, not wanting to play.
Yeah. Or even just isolated away from the team, so they're withdrawn from the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, more emotional.
Well, that's a good one. Perhaps being more emotional than usual.
Yeah. I think that's good though, because everyone said a different answer, which I think they, you know, your players better than sort of we do, weren't they, now? So it's great that there's them early signs and they're noticing it.
Yeah, I think the thing is though that you're in a real opportunity when you're working with teams to see those changes, and you will recognise them, and it creates that kind of feeling of something's not quite right here. Yeah. And I guess the issue is, what do you do from there, and whether you know, approach and talk about it. You know, and again, you know, we have these campaigns, don't we? Ask twice, you know, talk about your mental health. And we really support those, because I think sometimes that's exactly what you've got to do. Don't be put off if you approach somebody and ask them if they're okay and they say they're okay. To say, well, you know, acknowledging is half the battle. Yes, yeah. It is. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. Opening those conversations, having those conversations with people. Don't be afraid to do that.
I think we do that a lot, Nige. Like, even though we have lots of other sessions, we focus on a lot of our staff well-being as well. So even sort of the young coaches that we have, even though they say to me, "Are you okay?" and they go, "Yeah, I'm fine." I'm like, "Are you sure you're okay?" and then that's when the conversation then might go, actually, could we have a chat? Or they might say, well, can we speak about it another time? So
Yeah.
it's that time when they feel ready to as well. Would you agree, Nigel?
I think that's exactly it, Claire. And I think the thing is as well that we're talking about this is just the players, but your fellow coaches, the people who help you with the training, or the parents on the sidelines, may also be similar. You know, and sometimes we see people behave out of character, and we're easy to judge and blame without finding out why. So it's sometimes just worth asking the questions. Yeah, create the opportunities for people to talk. And I think the thing is, sometimes people don't want to ask those questions because you're worried about what people might say, or you're worried you might say the wrong thing. But ultimately, the fact is, you're not creating a situation by asking about it. That's already there for that person. What you're doing is giving them an opportunity to tell you about it. So it's a positive thing.
But even if they might not want to talk about it, then they might then feel, oh, actually, I can come
Exactly.
back to you and talk to you another time. They might drop you a message, might not want to do it face to face, but you've
That's
opened up that door for them to know that you care and that you will listen if you need it.
Well, it might be next time you see them, and it might be the next Saturday or Wednesday night on training or something like that. You just say, how are you today? And this time it makes people feel that they might be able to say something now to you that they couldn't say a week ago because you've asked again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just creating those opportunities, I think. You can't take responsibility for it, but you can create an opportunity for someone to talk to you. Yeah, posters can help. I think that's a really good one, because the thing about a poster is you can see it from a distance. You don't have to look at it and feel that somebody is watching you looking at it. And sometimes that puts people off. And again, that's about stigma, isn't it, really? You know, why should we feel stigmatized because we need support? We shouldn't really.
Should we go on to the next one? I so thinking
Yeah,
that obvious.
I think we've got a bit of a scenario here, haven't we, as well, in a minute?
Yeah, see what we come up with. So obviously we then started about sort of spotting the differences or what might change is, well, what barriers could stop someone, even just your player or anyone that's feeling a low mood, stop coming to football or just not come for a few weeks?
Yeah.
Lifestyle at home.
Yeah, so their lifestyle at home could stop them.
Yeah, lifestyle at home can. I think that's a really good one, Anthony, because no end of times, you know, my lad plays football and has done. I've been stood as a parent, I stood at the sidelines for many, many years. And I hear, you know, people saying he's always late for training. What they don't necessarily say is that mum and dad won't bring him. So it's you know, it's looking for those reasons as well. But I think some of these things, like lack of confidence in an ability, is a key one. I know we have that with our projects. Our projects are open to everybody. It doesn't matter whether you can play football or not. It might be the first time when you come to us you've ever kicked a football. We don't mind. But people often worry that they might not be good enough, don't they?
Yeah, and I think one thing we always have that sort of relaxed environment is you do what you can do and go at your own pace. And I know some children, if you say to them do that, they might not want to because they want to be seen as they're the best player. But it's about that team environment and saying to them, it's okay if that pass doesn't go there. It's what you can do next. So can you get the ball back? And having that positive, relaxed environment, we find nice, don't we? Helps to people empower and come together, but also have that support environment.
I think so. I think it's an enabling situation, isn't it? Because I think people play football best when they feel enabled and empowered. So encouragement seems to go a lot further than negative comments, really. Yeah. So yeah, but we've got some nice answers here. Feeling that they might be letting people down, I think, is a real one.
Yeah.
Yeah. People feeling that they aren't fit enough.
Yeah. I think that was a big one for just people coming back to our sessions. And I know some of, like the ladies team I helped with, some of them felt really unsure they wanted to come back because the lack of fitness, or maybe the body image has changed because they've not been as active.
Yeah.
Be a key one, can't it, Nige, that we see a lot of is sort of the lack of reduced fitness.
Yeah, we've all lost a bit of fitness, haven't we? Put on a bit of weight. We've had a few more takeaways than we normally have.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know one anyway. But it's a thing, isn't it? All of a sudden, you're going back on Wednesday to the football training, and you're thinking, oh, am I going to last 90 minutes? I'm not going to last 15.
No.
So, but that kind of feeling that we're all in that kind of situation together and acknowledging that can be helpful, and actually coming back to get fitter. So sometimes it's about how, is accepting that people might not be match fit, but let's get fit together. Yeah. Exactly. I think the other thing is that kind of anxiety of new surroundings. I think that's a really good one as well, because I know we have a projects. Well, years ago, I used to work in a drug service, and opposite us was an STI clinic, a sexually transmitted diseases clinic. And we used to see people walk up and down the road outside us, walking up and down, looking at who was looking around them, anxious about going into either our clinic or the clinic across the road and who might see them. Now, we can all understand that, but sometimes the same thing happens with football coming to some of our projects, doesn't it? Sometimes just walking into a sports centre, for instance, can pose real anxiety for people.
Even just the journey to get there, Nigel, even if they have to get the bus or they have to.
Yeah.
That thing just to get there is
just
really
getting there, yeah, and then walking through the door and saying to a receptionist why they're there or something like that. So we've got to try and think of ways that makes this easy for people to do, because it can be a barrier.
Yeah, I think even just for me, like even when I do my coaching out of work hours, like goalkeeping or football, like I always make sure I maybe start my session 5-10 minutes later than the actual start time, because there's always going to be a couple late, and I know sometimes people, they're late, but I just give them that bit of time for them to then get themselves settled, because then they're rushing and then they're not really focused on what's happening next. And I think that's one thing I try and do is let them get there, then that's when we start the session, or just that extra breathing space to come to the session without any sort of extra stresses that's necessarily needed.
Yeah, I don't think we worry about people being late, because we're just glad to see they're there, and we can find out the reasons why, what's held them up, not in terms of them having to come with an excuse, but actually just acknowledging that things can happen, and it can be difficult to get to a session, and sometimes people arrive flustered and in need of support right from the beginning. So
I think even just when we started back, was it the 31st of March, one of our ladies came up half an hour late. She was building up that much of anxiety of seeing people because she lives on her own. And when she got there, she was really flustered. We're like, just relax, give yourself some time, weren't she, Nigel? And
she was.
I think even just seeing us was, even though she's seen us on virtually, just seeing us for the first time in months, it was quite overwhelming for her, weren't it?
Yeah, and some people haven't come to us because they can't get on a bus yet.
Yeah.
They worry about getting onto a bus. So
it's one of the positives of this pandemic is the awareness of mental health to fight the stigma who is affected.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think hopefully that's one thing that will come really out of this, because I think it has certainly raised awareness of mental health, hasn't it? Because we've all been in a situation where our mental health's been challenged. Yeah, and we're actually appreciating that actually mental health's a normal reaction to situations. Yeah. Brilliant.
Should we move on to our scenario now?
Our scenario, see what people make of that one. So we've got Sam here. Sam can be male or female, it doesn't matter. So, but they've been recently unwell, struggle with anxiety for years, and that's affected their self-confidence and self-esteem. So Sam finds it difficult to meet new people and make friends. So for that reason, Sam feels quite isolated. Sam used to play football, but over the past year put on weight. So if Sam was to contact you and was to want to come along to a football session, how might we start to include him? What can we do? Perhaps you just drop a few ideas into the chat.
Not an age.
Yeah, so start with a little group. So don't maybe invite him to the bigger club session where there could potentially be 50 plus, I guess.
Yeah, that's a nice idea, Anthony.
That is good idea.
Yeah.
I like that one that's just coming as well, Nigel. Invite them just to observe at first.
Yeah, just to come down and see what's happening and meet people. So meet the coach, for instance. Come and meet you. Yeah, I think that's a great one.
Encourage them to come along and buddy up. I like that one as well.
Yeah, I think that's another one, isn't it? It's something that we do with our groups. We tend to buddy new people up with people who have been there for a while, and that works for both parties, doesn't it?
Yeah. To be fair, I think the comments that I think we do is get them to observe first, don't we, and then have a chat with them beforehand maybe, and then try and buddy them up. Yeah.
I think that's another nice one as well that's come out, to kind of stand with them and observe. So you can talk about what's actually happening, so they can understand what you're doing and why. Yeah, and what's happening, what's going to happen next, and whether this is a typical type of session, and whether next week, if it comes along, it will be like this. It's all about kind of relaying that anxiety, isn't it, and making the environment a welcoming one.
Yeah. I think what we've done in the past is even just my sessions, if it's like a younger person, so a child is sort of, if they can come to the session before it's even started, so they can actually meet the coaches, you can meet the parents or the carers, and just to get to know them as the individual and how you can best support them, and then they can observe the session then, can't they, Nige?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, Claire, isn't it? Yeah.
Let's see if any more come through. Listen. Ensure there is an extra person / coach at the session that can spend some time with them during the session, so they observe them and ask questions also.
Yeah, people generally feel they want to participate if they feel included and their presence is valued by coaches and participants. Yeah, Rachel, I think that's exactly right. I think people do, and it's a good way of gauging how welcome people feel. Yeah. Actually, by what happens. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so they could get them to bring a friend with them as well. So maybe not necessarily just buddy up with someone that's already there. Yeah. Someone that they already trust.
Yeah, and that's a really good one as well. And it might be they've been brought by somebody anyway, somebody else who plays. So that's a good one. And certainly a lot of the people that come to us are brought by, they're self-referrals, but they're brought by people that we know. So yeah, and that makes that transition a lot easier. But just thinking about this one, now we've got this person along to the session, how do we then make them feel included? What happens then in terms of the way that we plan our session and the way we run our session? What makes that session an inclusive session? Yeah, that's a great one. It's one I'm always bad at. I'm terrible with names.
You're not,
oh, I am. But making a point of remembering somebody's name makes a big difference, yeah.
Yeah, especially when you walk through the door and you're like, hi, John, and they're like, you can just smile instantly.
Yeah, I used to work with a chap in the university who would, he remembered everybody's name. Once he'd heard it, he remembered it. So we'd go into a lecture theatre and there'd be 300 people there, and he could go round and would do as a party treat while they were warming up and welcome everybody by name.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a good amount of people.
That's not bad in a school that got 3,000 people in it, is it? But yeah. I used to always envy that, but because it makes people feel special, doesn't it, if you remember the name?
It does. I think Karen's coming here to follow up with a message after the session.
Yes, I think that's good.
I think then also they can ask questions if when they've gone home and they feel more relaxed. Oh, I didn't ask this, or can you ask that and see what happens, and that can help them as well, can't it? Nice to a bit more at ease.
I think that one that Sarah's put in, ensuring sessions can be achieved by all for different ability levels, is really a good one. Because if people have low self-esteem and they lack confidence, if they then can't do the drills that you're trying to do, or don't feel that they can do them, then you're already on the back foot. So if you can adjust things so that everybody can do them and it can accommodate different levels of ability, I think that's a real bonus. Yeah.
I think even as well, like even just when sort of the community costs, like asking, has anyone got a question? Or I know what we do sometimes is like having a question box where someone might go into the box and say, oh, and you can have that little chat with them there to say,
well, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done that a few at our school sessions and our sort of activities. If no one don't understand the drill, or they just maybe want that bit of one-to-one, if you have that sort of extra coach there is going into that box, and they might say, oh, I don't understand this, then you might be able to pull them off and then do a little bit there. There's lots of different ways you can manage it as well.
I was just thinking, Claire, because I'm not a coach, but I see you coach quite a lot. So, you know, we'll do things like warm-ups, won't we? And, you know, we tend not to do things like get the guys to all do press-ups, because we know some of them can do them and some of them can't. So we might say to people, well, let's do ones that everybody can do. Yeah. And, you know, it might be doing wall press-ups or something like that, because we know people can do that. And then allowing those people who want to progress onto the press-ups to do those as well. So it's getting that balance, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think like even just with our other sessions, it's that 3-level thing we do too, is like the A, B, and C is, if not, then there's this level, then there's this level. Just to include and make it inclusive for everyone.
Yeah, so it's not actually a fitness competition. The warm-up's not a competition to see who's the fittest, but it's to enable everybody to participate and everybody to be fitter, and everybody gets a workout, so the benefit to everybody is the same. They're all improving their fitness.
I think even just with the sessions, sometimes I also give like 2 options that they can do, like this one, try this one, if not, have a go at this one. So there's different levels that can go off in the session as well. So should we move on to the next one now? It's about sort of supporting sort of the role. So there's sort of a system that we tend to use with our coaches, isn't it, Nige, is the care system. I think if you need any more resources, I think it's the Sports England that they use this one as well, is sort of the care system. So coaching and customer service is sort of the available that we give them, the coaching sessions and adapting and talking about sort of that mental health, is asking, are you okay? Which then goes into sort of the awareness part, and sort of that observing and our listening skills. And then I know we ask this one a lot at the bottom of the awareness now, don't we, is how would you like to be supported? That can be asked to anyone. Some of them might not even think about it, but some of them more likely will give you an answer to say, I would like this if I'm feeling low, or if I'm doing this behaviour, I would like more positive encouragement.
I think that's a really important one, because you know, we often ask questions. We do a kind of health questionnaire when people come in, don't we? We register people and we ask them questions about their health, and people will tell us their diagnoses and things like that. And one of the reasons why we've not done a session today that's gone through all the different types of mental health problems is because you don't need to know those. What you need to do is you need to know how they affect people. So if people say, you know, they're anxious, or they find it difficult to do whatever, you need to just ask them about it, so we understand it. So I think the idea of just wanting to understand and to help is the key, really. You don't need a label, you don't need a diagnosis. What you need is to have willingness to want to understand. So if somebody says to you they're epileptic, a physical issue, you know, what you would want to know is, well, what do we do if you have a fit? You know, if somebody says they have panic attacks, then we need to know, well, how can we help you if you feel like that? If you start to panic, what can we do to support you? Yeah, and it's those sorts of questions we need to be thinking about. Yeah,
that's fine. And if, like, going on to the respect one, is treat everyone fair, make yourself available to listen. I know sometimes we're at sessions, make sure ourselves are available. Even I know time's not always on our side when we go into training sessions and that, but sometimes we try and make sure that we're there like 20 minutes before like the session actually starts, obviously to set up, but also to, if anyone wants to chat before the session, and then we sort of stay around after about 15-20 minutes after, if anyone would like a chat at the end, so we can offer that support. We tend to find there now that's where we get a lot of the good sort of conversations, don't we, going and building that more positive relationship.
Yeah, we do. And it's just sometimes it can be anything, can't it? It can just be that walk back to the car park and chatting, or it can be, you know, because we've been working with our players over at on the embankment, and we've been walking back through the meadows, haven't we? And those one-to-ones that we've been having at that time, just walking, sometimes are more comfortable than the ones that we've had inside. So it's just taking those opportunities, really. So yes. I think the other one is about treating information in confidence. I think people feel that they've got to feel that they trust you, but at the same time, then we must also be aware of safeguarding issues and things like that as well, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we're going to the empathy. Obviously, there's lots of resources out there. I think one of our last slides is sort of resources that might be able to download an app or other websites that you can get more information from. But the one is, I think me and Nigel a lot, is don't feel pressure to give them an answer there and then. There's sometimes we get an answer and it knocks us to think, oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing. But sometimes even you just listen to them can be the biggest eye-opener, can't it, Nigel?
I think that's the thing. I think people who are perhaps a little bit more inexperienced about working with people with mental health issues feel that they want to solve everybody's problem, and we can't always do that. What we can do, though, is we can listen and be there for people, and we can be supportive, and we can perhaps guide people to places that they might be able to get answers from if they need to. Yes. The danger is that we give them advice, and we're not in a position normally where we can advise people. You know, and the last thing you want is people to come back to you and say, well, I did this because you told me to, and it hasn't worked for me. So, you know, even if you were a counsellor, you wouldn't give advice. What you would do is you should explore the issues with people and point them towards people who can help them, really. So I think that's what we would suggest. But yeah, but it is that point, see them as an individual and not the diagnosis. Yeah.
I think it's that personal centered approach, and is that they know you see them as the person, whether it's the goalkeeper, whether it's the midfielder, it makes you feel empowered. Yeah, we've got a good one here. It's the difference between empathy and sympathy. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, definitely. Should we go on to the next slide now? Yeah, let's do that. As well as sort of helping, supporting others, it's another thing is sort of thinking of your own well-being as well. So the 5 ways to well-being. And we always say these things about sort of being kind to you over sort of the lockdowns and stuff, the people we work with little things like if you need to be kind to your day, whether that is you just getting out your pajamas and sort of having that relaxation, that chill time for you, is doing something that you love to do, which a lot of people these days will be the football, whether it be the socialising. So it's sort of looking after your own well-being as well. So the 5 ways to well-being, here they are. It's sort of that connecting. I think that's again, Nigel, what we did quite a lot is with connecting with different organisations, or we did lots of with our partners or our participants. Can you connect with people that even just are you going for a walk and say hello to them, because you might be the only person that person sees. So we just said, can you try and connect with different people? Now, do you want to say any more of that? No, I think one thing about these 5 ways to wellbeing, their research, and they're proved to be effective ways of promoting good mental health. So these 5 things are recognised approaches to promoting mental health, and being connected to people is really important. And the thing that I'd say is it's worth just reflecting on football with this, because again, you know, belonging to a team makes you feel connected. It helps you build those social relationships. Learning, you know, we know that learning a new skill is really good for people's self-esteem, and so certainly, you know, they recommend even for older people who have, you know, dementia and issues like that, around trying to learn a new skill, because it promotes that kind of feeling. And again, you know, within your football, it might be that you encourage people to be involved not just with the playing, but they might actually help with the club, or might help with the coaching, or supporting somebody else, or whatever. So again, giving as well, isn't it, Claire? You know, giving to others makes you happier. That kind of sense of supporting somebody or benefiting somebody
is good. Giving time, and that's perhaps why, as coaches, you give your time so generously to, you know, to the young people that you work with. Yeah. I sometimes think, you know, as a parent on the sideline, I often think it's a thankless task. You know, being a coach, you know, the parents never seem to think you've got it right.
But even just that, especially with training, like if you've done something in training, like the sort of training session before the match on the Sunday, and you see them do something in the match that you taught them, just seeing them, you giving them that time or that tip that you helped them, it gives you that sense of that achievement, doesn't it?
It does, but I was just laughing because, you know, there's always a parent who thinks their son hasn't had enough time on the game or whatever.
It's stressful.
Yeah. But I think the worst bit for me in terms of my mental health when I go and watch football is running the line.
You always get that job, don't you?
That's an absolute nightmare. You've got the players moaning at you, you've got the crowd moaning at you, the parents.
Can't win, can you?
Can't win, no. Yeah. But being active as well is another thing, isn't it? It really promotes mental well-being, and that's where we started this session. We were talking about the benefits of exercise, and so we've done that. And take notice. That's something that sometimes we all have to be reminded to do, I think, and that's to live in the here and now. Yeah. To focus on what it is that we're doing right at this moment in time, and not be worrying about the next step that we're going to take, that we're going to do. And this is something I think that really benefits our players and coming along to our sessions, and I dare say to your coaching sessions as well, is that when you're playing football, what you're doing is focusing on the game. You're not thinking about what's happening at home or what, you know, going to school or work or anything else. You're just focused on, you know, whether when that ball's coming towards you, whether you can head it or shoot it or whatever it is that you're going to be doing. So you're focused in the here and now. And that's really valuable in giving people downtime away from their anxieties and away from the stresses of life. And it's really important to them. So, and that's something that, you know, people talk about mindfulness, and that's really what that's based on. But it's based on not just doing it when you play football, but doing it throughout the day. So when you're eating your meal, you know, when we have a meal at work, when we have our lunch, we normally do it over a computer, don't we? You know, we're normally doing emails, or we're talking or doing something. But actually, the proper way to do that, the mindfulness way, would be to sit and just have time and just enjoy your meal and focus on what it tastes like and what its textures are and how much you're enjoying it. And that's really important in terms of promoting your well-being, just having that time. So, yeah. So when you think about football, this 5 ways to well-being could have been written for it, couldn't it? In some ways.
Perfect.
The benefits, can't you? And I think this is the point, really, that football is a great vehicle to promote people's mental health and well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Should we go on to the last slide, Nigel? So just some resources that I know there's quite a few on there, but there's some resources that might help. Again, I can send Sarah the slides as well, so she can send it out over to everyone. There's quite a few different websites out there, or there's some apps that can help with different things. So Headspace, like mindfulness. You've got Young Minds, it's good for your young players, or just give you some extra little tips that you can probably put into your sessions that you might not even realise. There's yoga, there's Calm, there's lots of different websites that you can use. And like I say, I'll send these slides to Sarah, and then she can send them out as well, if you, obviously, because there's a lot to write down there, so don't worry about writing it down. And then we've just got the last few slides is sort of Sarah and Rachel's information. Is there anything else that you need extra support from these guys? We work with Sarah quite a lot, so she's very supportive, so feel free to contact her if you ever need any help or anything and guidance, because they will be there to help you as well. And then Nigel's last slide is, again, if you need contacts or want any extra support or need us to do any support, really, just give us a contact and we'll be more than happy to help you, won't we, Nigel? Yeah, by all means, just do feel free to contact us. Yeah, it'd be good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Nigel and Claire. We really, really appreciate that. I think this is the 3rd or 4th one I've sat on over the years with you, and yeah, I've really enjoyed it. So I really appreciate your time. And for everybody else, I think, you know, we have a great opportunity and a great position within football to offer that support. And I think sometimes it could be some of the players' kind of only safe area, safe zone.
Yeah.
So I think it's so important, and it's great to see people, you know, having a real invested interest and seeing how we can support the football community a little bit further. So I really appreciate your time. Yes, Claire, if you could send me the slides, that'd be brilliant. I'll send that out. I've also recorded this as well, so if anyone would like the recording, just let me know. But as again, myself and Rachel, we are obviously part of the County FA. We are here to support you. Anything further, if there's any information you'd like about any of Nigel and Claire's sessions, activities, just let me know. My contact details are on the website, so we can definitely kind of help refer that on to you guys as well. But thanks for that. Really appreciate your time. We are got a few other things throughout the week as well for the clubs and leagues regarding the mental health awareness. We have can come and have your lunch. I know that kind of contradicts what you've just said, Nigel, about lunch
Yes.
and on your food, but you can come and have your lunch Wednesday. We're all online at 12 o'clock just to have a general chat to club, see how we can support further, make sure what we're delivering is kind of relevant to you guys as well. But yeah, massive thank you. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. And thanks for participating. Thanks for joining
Thanks
us.
for your engagement.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you.
Oh,
Bye, Anthony.
bye.
Cheers,
Bye,
mate.
Anthony.
Thank you, mate.
See you later.
Perfect. Just a few more things.
Thanks, Sarah.
Perfect. Really appreciate that, Nigel. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been good. Thank you.
That was spot on. That was really good. And I don't know what happened to the other people. I think that was just free workshop and potentially maybe forgot or whatnot. But I think it was really good. I think a lot of people engaged. I've just remembered I'm recording, so I will stop this recording and we'll look to get something out on our